I am so happy with how this looks for the Rangers. We have a pitcher, Jack Leiter, and he is a dude.
And while I do think his hitting is worse than Derek Jeter, it's not that far off.
You're not mentioning 2006. You can mention the other people, not 2006.
Oh, just because I bought the best soap doesn't mean your room's going to be clean. It just leaves it to where I don't believe that the Canadians had a shot.
I really don't like the Clippers just kind of sending it in when they're like...
Hi, this is Kelly Forbes with the Dallas Stars, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week. This is not about the finals. This was recorded before Game 6, but the Los Angeles Lakers are going to have new owners, and it's official that it's going to be Mark Walter, owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers. But this is the first ownership change since 1979 when Jerry Buss bought the team. Jeannie Buss kept the team. And now she's deciding to sell, but she's still going to be governor, which could just be another video about that. But Austin, this comes just 3 months after the Celtics ownership changes. Once again, the Celtics have had several different owners. But the way I look at it is I don't know why I said Eagles, but the Lakers-Celtics rivalry really happened, I would say, in the 70s, 80s.
They also played two times in the 2000s, right? 2008 and 2010. They played each other in the finals.
Yeah, but I think a Buss family member being there kind of led it to always being a rivalry, especially with the 80s. But so now under new ownership on both sides, I'm wondering, do the owners feel that the Lakers and Celtics are going to be a rivalry? Like, are the Lakers going to make sure they're in competition with the Celtics?
I think so, just because they're such a big fan base, and you kind of live through your fan base a little bit, especially when it comes to ramping up for like rivalry games. I'm sure that every time the Celtics play the Lakers at LA or in Boston, that these will be games that are highly marketed, not just for TV, but also for fans, and those tickets are going to cost more. But also, I don't think that you're going to be seeing trades between the Celtics and Lakers, which is what I really deem to be true rivals, is that the Yankees and Red Sox don't really make that many trades together. We make some, but they're really usually small trades and trades that are inconsequential in most parts. Sure, some of them turn into good players, but they weren't meant to be good players for either side. They're usually just smaller trades for cash considerations or smaller minor league deals. I don't think we're going to see any massive trade where Jaylen Brown is sent to the Lakers or some other player on the Lakers. No, you don't want to see the other team win. I think that they will keep that rivalry because fans would be pretty mad. Sort of like how Danny Ainge with the Jazz kind of contributed to the Luka ending up in LA, and a lot of Celtics fans were mad because Danny Ainge was on those championship Celtics teams. He also used to be the Celtics GM, and Danny Ainge said he had no idea it was happening. And I believe him, and I believe that rivalry is so intense that it kind of goes past what the owners would want to put themselves through, because the fans would not allow it to happen without severe backlash, and that backlash is not worth the money potentially lost by fans getting angry at the team.
Yeah, and kind of to make sure I'm putting the point correctly, I believe the Buss family kind of had that hatred, like you mentioned, Danny Ainge. Now, these are two ownerships that don't really have familiarity with each other. It's just kind of history. So
sure, but they know what basketball is, and to know what basketball is to know about the Lakers versus Celtics.
Now, in light of recent events, are we sure that both sides understand the history of the franchises? Because
if you're buying a team like the Lakers and the Celtics, yes.
Okay.
It's different than buying the Mavs, because the Mavs are not a historic franchise. There's only a few historic franchises in the NBA. I would say the Bulls are a historic franchise because of what Jordan did for the team. I would say the Knicks mainly because they're in New York. I would say Boston. I would say LA. I would say San Antonio. You could consider a historic franchise because of what they've done over the last 25 years, or even 30 years. We'll just say last 30 years. But outside of that, it's really hard for me to find many historic franchises. You can say Warriors too, if you want to say Warriors. I think I'm probably pushing it by including the Warriors and including the Spurs because some of that stuff is a little bit more recent. But to know basketball is to know the Celtics and to know the Lakers. I mean, if you ask anyone over the world, name 2 NBA teams, the odds of them saying those two are probably higher on average than other teams. Even though people right now would say OKC, sure, or Indiana because those 2 teams are in the finals, sure. But everybody knows the Lakers and the Celtics. You see Kobe jerseys in third world countries. You see Celtics jerseys as well in those same places. So to be those two, to have those two as not rivals in some sort, I think is unlikely.
Yeah, and it does benefit that the Lakers' new owner is the Dodgers' owner. And the Dodgers, it is mentioned how Magic has an ownership stake, but I'm wondering how that relationship plays into Magic. Of course, everyone knows about Magic for the Lakers. How does that play into? And so, yeah, he should know the city. And you do make a great point. It is more important than the Mavericks, just given the global brand that the Lakers are, which is all the jerseys that are found. And so kind of seeing with Mark Walter and just kind of the money invested in the Dodgers, and you have LeBron under contract for a little bit more. You have Luka potentially, depending on what happens with that situation. How could we see the Lakers? It's not as possible to do what the Dodgers are doing, but that level of financial commitment in the salary cap, I'm curious how that goes, because I think you're seeing it on the opposite side with the Celtics.
Yeah, I just refuse to believe that the Celtics and Lakers won't be rivals. And like you said, with Mark Walter being the Dodgers don't trade with the Giants, right? And I think it's even more to say like the Dodgers and Yankees are more like the Celtics and Lakers because those teams have played a lot in the final or the World Series, if you want to say that, this past year as well included. And you don't see players getting traded from those 2 teams, right? I think a lot of fans would vomit if Judge was a Dodger or Kershaw was a Yankee. So I don't see that being changed. And I think if one of the 2 sides respects it as a rivalry, then it is because they're not going to engage in trade talks and they're going to continue to hype up the matchups between each other. And because they're in opposite conferences, they can still meet in the biggest moment in the sport, which is the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. As long as one respects the rivalry, I don't know what the Celtics are going to do, but I can see the Lakers, especially if Jeannie Buss is still involved, that way keeping that rivalry alive. And who knows, it especially helps that if Luka is part of the Lakers now, and what will happen in the future, we don't know. But I would love to see this from a kind of entertainment standpoint. These 2 teams meeting up with each other under new owners. I think that would be an exciting new chapter to this rivalry. That's kind of been in the NBA as long as the NBA has been mainstream, I would say. Because that Magic and Bird is kind of the launching point of the NBA and global superstars, because it didn't really get global, I would say, with Jordan and then European players.
Sure.
So let us know your thoughts on the comments on just these 2 franchises being under ownership and, of course, going for a lot of money. Does it really matter to you? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.